I think this is a very important talk. This is the first time that Mr. Xi Jinping of mainland China and Mr. Chu of Taiwan are meeting. And I think this is taking place against the background that China is fast becoming the largest economy in the world. And China is promoting very much the One Belt, One Road framework. And China is really initiating the establishment of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So the spillover from these major initiatives done by the mainland Chinese government into Taiwan will really generate new growth momentum for Taiwan. And I think Mr. Chu, as the new leader of KMT, it is a very important visit to China, mainland China. He will see with his own eyes the potential for further economic relations between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. Bilateral trade has already reached almost $200 billion. So it is very much irreversible. I think by building greater political trust between the two sides, it will pave the way for the eventual reunification between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. This is very encouraging. It's a milestone event.
You mentioned trust. President Xi, of course, calling for community building. How will this be achieved? What will it look like?
Well, I think they have talked about the differences which still exist between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait, but Mr. Xi Jinping emphasized, while acknowledging the differences, efforts need to be made to overcome these differences, whereas Eric Chu, the chairman of KMT in Taiwan, emphasized that both sides need to respect that differences do exist. So I think this may be a difference in tone, but I think efforts do need to be made by both sides of the Taiwan Strait, by political forces and parties in both mainland China and Taiwan to overcome these differences. But I would say people in Taiwan should come to the firm conclusion that working closely with mainland China to create win-win situation will be in the best interest of people in Taiwan at present as well as for the long term.
Victor, you talked about differences. Walk us through these relations. How do they look in 2005, 2008 compared to today, would you say?
Well, I would say 10 years ago, the two sides of the Taiwan Strait met and then established all kinds of channels of communication. As I mentioned, bilateral trade reached about $200 billion already, and there are many exchanges of flights on a daily basis between two sides of the Taiwan Strait by now. From here where I am in Beijing, it's only about 3 hours away from Beijing to Taiwan. I can literally go to Taiwan in the morning, have a business lunch, and working meetings in the afternoon, and hop on the plane to come back in the evening. It's a one-day trip between Beijing and Taipei, for example. However, I think greater efforts need to be made at present, leading to greater political confidence and trust between the two sides. People in Taiwan do not need to fear to be overwhelmed by the large economic size of mainland. They could look at this as actually an advantage for the economic development in Taiwan. And also, I think, while it is important to emphasize that eventually reunification needs to be achieved sooner or later, there is no need to rush through that process. And I think if people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait get to understand each other better and achieve greater confidence, especially politically speaking, that will pave the solid way leading towards the eventual reunification.